there, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order. Do not adjust your television sets. This is indeed Steve O'Matt here, a handsome, dashing, fresh-faced looking Steve O'Matt. And I am joined, as always, it's the boys are back in town, the band are back together, whatever term you want to put on it. It is a full house. They are bald and bearded brothers. I can say that about them. Paddy Boy up top, Paul D down bottom, Joe Donnelly there, and it is plenty to talk about and plenty to catch up about. So guys, it has been a while since we've all been together, back on screen. There's been a lot going on, I think that's fair to say, since the last time we're on. I know that Paul and Joe, after the Kairat game, after the Rangers game, you were a wee bit, how would we say it? What's the nice way of saying it? Peeved about things?
Fuming.
Maybe, fuming, yes, maybe fuming, not wanting to maybe come on in case you made an arse of yourselves, but that's fine, you're all over it now. The PTSD has died off and we're ready to talk about it, but of course it ain't all going to be rosy in the garden. So guys, I've spoke to Paddy enough, but how are you two down below doing since the last time we've been on? Start off with yourself, Paul, because it's been a good while for yourself as well.
Aye, all good. Good to see you again, guys. Usually international breaks, when they come around, are an absolute frustration, and I for one usually want to see the momentum kept going and get the games coming in constant Celtic. After recent events with European games and then the game against Rangers, the international break came with a bit of kind of welcome for once. So hopefully it's given us time to get our act together and be a bit more prudent and forthcoming on the pitch, play some good football, and I'm looking forward to Celtic being back. But no, it's good to see you again, and we've got much to discuss.
Absolutely. Joe, yourself, are you echoing that sentiment? You're glad to get the football back, but of course, all that stuff that's going on behind the scenes, it could have been a wee better place to be in, but needs must, eh?
Well, that's it. Listen, I understand everyone's frustrations. I've got my own and everything like that as well. Like Paul said, I think the international break has actually been welcomed a little bit this time round, and I'm hoping it spurs on some of our players as well, seeing some of their colleagues, their cohorts doing just as, if not better, in their respective leagues and everything as well. So I'm hoping that it actually kind of pushes on some members of our team and helps us to really, buckle down, if you will, for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a good chat with you guys tonight. You personally know my views, of course. Those that are watching might not as of yet. I'll make them loud and clear, and there will be people who will disagree with me, but that's just the way it is. But yeah, let's crack on, guys. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. Well, as we say, let's get down to business. But before we do, just a wee bit at the front end, we says welcome back to the channel, every single one of you. The community has been growing. The subscriber uptake has been phenomenal over the past sort of 2 weeks. We thank you very much for that. If you're new, what you're doing, hit subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. Everything that we put out here, the content is 100% free. Get yourself involved, hit the bell icon, you'll get notified. If you like what you've seen here, get a wee thumbs up. Tell your pal, tell your pal's pal, your family, everybody, get the community growing. And here, if you want to support us, you can do. The wee member section, it is by way of donation. It's just a wee $1.99, helps with everything, the overheads, the running of the platform, the equipment, all that kind of stuff, all the stickers, the t-shirts, all the stuff we get away. It helps with that. Totally optional. Of course, get us on our multiple social media platforms. Paddy's infamous TikTok, X at CW Pod 1888, Blue Sky, Spotify. There's an Instagram and all, so there you go. Plenty of ways to get yourselves involved with Celtic World Order, and hopefully you do that. So guys, as we say, let's get down to business, because there is plenty to talk about. And of course, I just want to, before we dive into some of the serious stuff, before we dive into some of the behind the scenes and the fan action, which of course is the big hot topic, as I say, I've spoke to Paddy. I've not really had a chance to speak to you, Joe and Paul, down below about where you think we're at in terms of going to head into this, out the international break, heading into the game against Kilmarnock. Of course, off the backdrop of what we know, there's a bit of sort of discontent, and rightfully so, with the fans behind the scenes. But also we learned about players that were supposed to be going, that were getting a buyout, and then it never happened, and they're having to be roped back in. Of course, we let Maeda go, we didn't strengthen accordingly. So there's lots of moving parts of where we're at, Joe. And I think that the worry is always going to be that how can we bounce back for this, because I wouldn't necessarily say that what we do as a fan base will directly affect the fans too much, sorry, the players that much. I think the way that we're going about it, and Paddy will tell us about that, and structuring that, is going to be aimed very much at, back the team, but the underlying message is sack the board.
Yeah. It's a really tough one. Like I say, there's going to be fans out there who are absolutely distraught with everything that has been going on, and I am one of them. I don't disagree with a lot of points and views that have been put out there, certainly. But what I would say is that I'm almost tired of hearing so much rumours and spillages and everything like that coming out of Celtic, and whether it be other podcasts or other people as well. Just even talking to any Celtic fan, they all seem to have their own theories and thoughts on the board and what's been happening. I'm getting a little tired of it. I just want to now concentrate on the football. I'm not saying that these matters shouldn't be brought up and shouldn't be discussed. We are obviously going to discuss it tonight. We will continue to do so, I'm sure, throughout the season, especially if none of the fan action is taken seriously as well. I think that is another matter that has to be discussed, because it's the club then not taking the fans seriously enough. But yeah, like Dexter said, I think that it should ultimately bring the team together. And as long as we can do that and bring out the good football again, and really, really get heartened into the season. I mean, the next game is Kilmarnock. I'm not worried, shall we say. But with recent performances, it's still always in the back of the mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Kilmarnock fans will be sitting there rubbing their hands like that and waiting for it, dying for it, So, yeah, I think we've just got to really come together, both as fans and really back the team more than anything, and make sure that they know it's not their problem or their fault. We are not attacking anything that they are doing.
No.
It's the leadership up above that has been letting us down and letting everyone down.
Yeah, definitely. As Carl's saying, it's going to drag out. See this situation with the fan action and the board, it's not going to be an overnight fix. It's not going to be a quick fix. And certainly, unlike when it was getting the board out in the early 90s, it's different circumstances. We know the backdrop to that was financial. You had a board who, quite frankly, didn't have a pot to piss in, and that's it. And we could, boycotts and not turning up and all that kind of thing with a financial implication, which in own turn would have called the banks in. So completely different. We're against a completely different backdrop here, Paul. But the sentiment is still very much the same, in that we want fundamental change at board level. We want people who are going to come in, that are going to share the passion of the manager, of, I'm sure, everybody in that dressing room, more importantly, of the fans, are going to share that vision. They're going to want to drive us on and be ambitious. Joe's had his thoughts on it there. In terms of the performances, let's just talk briefly about the Kairat, the Rangers game. Now that we know of the players perhaps that we thought we sat here before, didn't we? They might have checked out that there was rumours about. Does that all make a wee bit sense to you now, Paul? And do you think that come the game on Sunday, that regardless of what's happening off the field, that these guys can plug back into the system, get themselves going, and that we can navigate the waters between now and January?
It's in a lot of the players' best interest, isn't it? If they want to be playing for their countries, if they want to be seen, as a sellable asset and something that will be attractive to another club, that they come in all guns blazing and really kick on in terms of our season. The performances against Kairat, obviously everybody's now aware of it, flat, absolutely no cutting edge, no imagination, and more worryingly, no forward momentum. Everything that's been discussed, as we've all talked about, everything was backed away, especially from the middle of the park back to the keeper and stuff like that. Some of the calamitous, and it actually was calamitous, some of the style of play that we engineered and mistakes that we made. Since obviously either's away, so something that we wanted to happen has came to reality. We thought there would be obviously a player coming in. We've now got Inacho. Remains to be seen what he'll offer us. I'm hoping, give the guy a chance. We'll back any player that wears the hoops and comes in. But yeah, the style of play before the international break was dire. The stuff off the park, which we'll come to, has rumbled on. Effective change in that relation, in that regard, is needed. This has been something that's been going on since a long time. And because we've been successful, it's been kicked down the park, it's been kicked down the road, the can's been kicked, and it's now got to a point where there's a collective fan effort that's now galvanised everybody because of what happened in the summer, because of what happened in the Champions League performance, that things have now culminated in what's going to happen. It has to happen. Whether it'll have a knock-on effect in terms of this season and we're, targets, we'll just have to wait and see. But we still do have a good position in the league. We still do have a very superior squad. We do have new arrivals, but over the summer, absolutely dreadful, let down. Manager's got to take some of that as well. But as a club, we need a complete boot up the arse.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's the thing. It's all about coming out of this, if we can, stronger. We're weaker in terms of what we've got available in the manager situation and all the sort of behind the scenes things. But it's important, as you say, is the fans are united in the cause. They want improvement. They want to be better, and it's important. And I'd be confident that Brendan Rodgers can get that investment back into the guys. But it's important for them to realise that, particularly if they will be aware. They will, of course, they'll be aware of what's going on off the field and all the fan stuff, but it's important that they know that that's not directed at them and that that's a means to an end to try to enforce change elsewhere on it. But on that, let's just jump straight into it because, listen, it's absolutely no secret. And as it says there, it's Contempt versus Intent. On one hand, you've got the board, you've got their stance, you've got their statement of, quite frankly, it was just contempt. It was absolutely disgusting, Paddy, that statement, which of course, as we all knew, we were waiting for it. The silence was deadly. And they managed to, as they always do, sneak it out the back door, late hours of a Saturday when everybody's probably out down the boozer and having a drink. They're not going to notice it, fire that out there. And the underlying tone of it was pretty much, I suppose, this.
I couldn't give a fuck.
That was pretty much it for where I was standing. They recognised all the questions that were asked and we've brought them up a million times over. The fan open letter, of course, we were one of hundreds of signatories on there representing thousands of fans all over the world. And, of course, these were the very simple questions that were asked to them. That statement, of course, answered that amount of them. Absolutely nothing. Hee-haw. They basically says, Paddy, we're doing all right. We know what we're talking about. Patted us in the head and says, it's business stuff, people. You just wouldn't understand it. And I think as well, they threw out the the guidelines around about expenditure from a UEFA standpoint, almost chucking financial fair play and the likes at us, which we all know Celtic are absolutely light years away from ever being in breaching of. You were at the meeting, we'll go on to that, but what was your thoughts, Paddy, on that statement that they wheeled out to us?
It was laughable. They showed that it's as if they didn't even read the statement, basically. It's like, oh, right, you better reply to this, and they went, right, no bother, I've got a reply here. Oh, you haven't read it? That's all right. I'll just write this. There you go. Have that. That seemed to be kind of what they had done.
Signed a letterhead.
Aye, basically, because they never answered one question, like you said, Steve. There's all this, like actually you say about the UEFA fair play and stuff like that. And listen, you said that you had the nail on the head. We are light years ahead. And I listened to one of the English commentators. I think it was on 5 Live. I was listening to the other night, and the guy spoke about Celtic, and he says, "Listen, that's an absolute joke for Celtic to be classed in that." He says, because when you look at some of the clubs who have been sanctioned or brought up, he says Celtic are miles and miles ahead of where they are. He says this is a club that's actually in profit. He says they're not anywhere near the levels of that. He says, so for that statement to come out is absolutely laughable, and that's what it was. There was
Simon Jordan and that even in on it deep, they had a really good take on it, and that's a guy that knows the backgrounds. But just to jump in on that, Paddy, here's something that's interesting for you. So last year Celtic made 124.6 million in revenue, right? Now UEFA sustainability rules say that it should not spend more than 70% of that revenue, right? So that would be around about 87.22 million. Celtic spent 14, so
We're safe.
We're all laughing.
Safe.
That's the thing. We're all laughing because
Could you imagine they actually put the hand in the pocket and went, right, you know what, this year, lads, we're going to spend 40 million. We're going to we're going to invest. We're going to better last year's performance. We're going to get further than we did last year. We're going to beat teams. Like,
is that a flying pig I just saw go past you, Paddy?
Pretty much, mate. Aye, it would have to be, because we know it's not going to happen. And like we've said before on here, Steve, and you hear it on other podcasts as well, this isn't a new thing. It's something that's been going on and on and on with these people who are running our club. And until we get them out, it's going to continue.
Yep, that's the point I was making. There's been sorry to cut in. There's been success, there's been good times, there's been trebles and everything else, but we've always had that wee niggle in the background that we just know that's not right up the stairs. There's stuff going on at the club that's just not right, but we'll just kick it down the park a wee bit and then we'll deal with it. This is it. We're now at ground zero. Pardon the expression. This has to be, confronted right now.
Here's one I want to throw at you guys. So obviously you're on this at the moment, Paddy, but Cook67 saying this, and I've seen a lot of this right now. I've never personally used AI chat, right? But a lot of people have fired in this statement, and supposedly they're saying that it's largely aided and abetted by AI. Now, I think that
what isn't nowadays? That's the problem.
When you read the statement, what I would say is when you read the statement, it's very matter of fact, but matter of fact in a dehumanized way, isn't it? It's very sort of corporate speak, but cut and dry corporate speak. There's no we understand the the thoughts and such, and we sympathise and all that. It's very just here's the facts.
Robotic.
Boom, 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 boom. It's as if somebody's went, as it says, I believe you speak to it or you type in prompts. Basically tell them that we know what we're doing and we're sorry that they're upset. We're upset and all. That's it. Right? And it's fires it out.
Mention throwing money around. That was a belter as well. Even the AI must have been laughing at that.
Rubber Duck's asking, what do we want? Bored out. When do we want it?
Last year.
Absolutely.
On that as well, Steve, see what you're saying with the statement and stuff like that. It's farcical. It really, really is. And see, if I send a statement in like that, we'd obviously taken time, and the other fan medias had taken time to actually compose this letter to get all of these opinions and everything from all the podcasts and from fans and everything else. There was a lot of time and effort put into that, and for it to be shrugged off as if it was just a bit of shit and walking their shoe, it's disgusting. I expected a bullet pointed reply for that to say, right, you spoke about this is your answer to that. You spoke about this is your answer to that. But there was nothing. Do you know what I mean? They basically just laughed at it and threw it away, and that's why it's came to this. That's why it's came to that Cobra meeting we had last night, we'll call it. Do you know what I mean?
There's Cobra meetings there in the Celtic bars. There's plenty of snakes in there anyway.
Aye, that's it.
Drinking Cobra.
Listen, that last night, mate, honestly, I know we're going to get onto it, but with 85 in the room in Gracie's and then with 175 online, and they were representing supporters clubs, podcasts, and other groups as well. Now, that's brilliant, mate. That is a massive start. And it was obviously the North Curve and the Green Brigade and whatever were there. And they all spoke really, really well. And obviously we'll kind of break it down, but it just shows that I think the board have kind of looked at us and thought, not that we were stupid, but that they could palm us off with that. Do you know what I mean? I think they're the stupid ones to think that they could actually get away with palming us off with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's just like see with the actual statement, just to sort of gloss over sections of it. Joe, I know that we know where you stand on this. It says you're very much in that I am bored of it sort of situation. But I think the key point, and one of the things that's really, really angering people right now, I think regardless of what they put out, whether it covered everything or it covered nothing as it did, the biggest beef that people have with it, above all, is that of the, quite frankly, simple questions that were asked in the open letter, not one of them, not one was addressed in full, let alone scratched the surface, let alone, acknowledged. Sum up in your mind at least. What does that really honestly say about the board now? There's a million expletives that you could put out there to describe what that means. But the reality is, does that not just, if ever these people, and I'm not saying, again, we say this all the time, Celtic World Order, all these other fan groups, all these other podcasts, we're not here to say that we are right and you're wrong. We're open to debate and varying viewpoints on it. However, I still can't understand after that, there is still people who will blindly back this board regardless, when they can't even reach out in some level and answer simple questions, or at least some of them. They could have skirted around and answered the ones that they wanted to, but they went for none of them. And basically, we know what we're doing.
You've got what a lot of people have been calling online, and I'm not calling anyone this, but you've got what they call the happy clappers. The guys that are just happy to carry on and let anyone do it, and it doesn't matter as long as we beat Rangers and everything like that. Well, the fact of the matter is we haven't beat Rangers, right? The season's not over, first of all. We don't know what is going to happen in their camp, no matter how much we hear and everything like that. The whole the fact of them skipping round all of the fan questions as well, that scares me a little bit in a way, because I think to myself, well, they've stopped caring about the fans then, and they've forgotten that the fans make the club. It's not just about the football that they play. The team was started out of nowhere to help families and friends and fans and bring people together. That was the whole point of it. Where's that going?
Yeah.
It not only scares me, it actually breaks my heart a wee bit as well. We were all raised on Celtic. We all came up through our youth loving Celtic for whatever reason it may be. It may have been favourite players or the type of football, through the tough times and the good times. Up until this point, the fans have never been ignored in such a horrible way.
Yeah.
And that, as I say, is disheartening and scares me more than anything. I think it just feels like a fob off, and especially when I'm not saying we have the biggest footprint or platform in the world, but for the likes of us to be saying these kind of things, and to be out there on the internet for all days to come, wouldn't that put a little thought in your head of going, well, do you know what, maybe we should listen just for 5 minutes and answer the odd question and at least try and placate something, but they haven't even bothered their arse because do they not think we're worth it?
No, I mean that's the thing. When we talk about this situation, Paul, this is not a new phenomenon, right? This discontent, this has just been the tipping point. This has really just boiled over, and it's not knee jerk to the failings of the Champions League, right? Of course, it's a culmination. You look at the generalised failings. You can go back to not replacing players many years. You could look at the other failed qualifying campaigns. You could look at not investing at the front end when you were already in the Champions League, so on and so forth. So this isn't a new phenomenon. This is not knee jerk to the fact that we went out to Kairat and that we couldn't beat a garbage Rangers. It's not. It really isn't. It's the fact that they've not been listening to fans, they've not been listening to the manager, which, above all, that's the one. They're not only making us fans look like fools, they're making managers look like fools, they're making players look like fools by promises and not allowing them to go, so on and so forth, but they're also making themselves look like complete and utter idiots in the way that they've dealt with other clubs, with the absolute negligence and disdain and contempt that they've shown other clubs when dealing with them. And then, of course, the statement, Paul, it was a PR disaster. There's no other way of putting it. All us fans are saying that it was a disaster. Don't take our words for it. Look at the commentators with absolutely no skin in the game. The likes of your Simon Jordans and that, who are just tearing shreds off it. And that's a guy from a footballing background. He knows a bit or two about business, right? They're tearing strips off you. Is it fair to say that they have actually tried to be smart, but it has backfired spectacularly on them?
100%, mate. You hit the nail right in the head there with all the stuff that you're saying about the previous direction that they've been going in. This is something that I think would have happened, if not now, further down the line, and we would still have been at this point, but it has to be confronted, as I say. the whole point about the fans' togetherness is huge in this, and it has to be united, which it appears to be. Anybody who still backs this board or supports, albeit, you're going to back the club, I get that, back the club, back the players, but what's going on in the background? The statement was completely disingenuous, insulting, so many words I could think of, just absolutely dire, and it's just disregard. They hate us. The Celtic board hate the paying public. They hate the paying fan. We're the paying customer who puts the hand in the pockets, buys the merchandise, buys season tickets that are astronomical, buys cup, European games, kids strips and everything else, and they hate us. What came across in that statement was nothing short of just absolute abject, just derision from that board towards the fans, and it fills me with, the same as what Joe's saying, it's actually quite soul destroying that they've taken that stance. Very sad about it, but from now where we are, we've now got a place where we can go. We'll hear more about what happened at Gracie's with Paddy, and I'm actually quite energised and quite motivated to see how the fans now come together and rally and really put pressure on them, because if they think this is over, it's only just begun.
Yeah, definitely. And get your thoughts in before we dive in. What's your thoughts on the general situation stuff? And I'll bring up some. I see Rubber Ducks asking sensationalised for clicks. Not really quite sure if that's a negative or what it is. And he's saying sick of the narrative. Do extend your point there, my friend, just so that we actually know what you're talking about. Are you talking about somebody else? Are you talking about this whole thing here? Because, sick of that. What narrative are you sick of? The board's narrative? Are you sick of the fan narrative? Let us know, because that's so obtuse and a bit sort of, how do we say it? Wishy-washy, I think is the term they use. But yes, Paddy, let's jump in about it, because as we say, you dialed in representing the Celtic World Order on the dial-in at the meeting. We couldn't be there in person, but of course you could do that, and you said there was plenty of takeaways. But before we go into that, what was interesting is, I don't know if you guys have seen this, I'll drop this away, and this is another thing that just shows the contempt of the board that we've got. Remember, we done that fan survey about a year ago, and we've never had the results published there. You probably know why that is. It's probably because what we're talking about now, people being dissatisfied with everything or anything. Some of it, of course, people say is justified. Some of it will say is overreactionary. It could be anything simple. It could be the state of affairs inside the stadium, the facilities, ticketing, whatever it is. They've not released that. But there you go. Here's a fan survey that was done, maybe a week ago if we're lucky, and there is the results. That's how quickly you can get it out. Now, of course, I don't know what the Celtic fan survey intake would be, but for balance, the one here for the fans was 38,832 people responded to it, and there you go, boom. You can see it pretty categorically in terms of support. It's pretty much high 90s on most parts there. So you can get figures quickly and fastly and processed if you want to put the results out there. So Paddy, we went into that meeting, and just give us some of the key headline points that came out of that for anybody that hasn't heard already.
For me, mate, do you know what? This is a great plan going forward, and I want to get that across. It was so good to join in there and see it all as a collective, to see supporters clubs, all of the other podcasts coming together. Obviously, you'd Axom there, you'd Ryan 118, you'd the big boys, and then you'd 20 Minute Tims, you'd all the other podcasts, everybody in there, and then all of the supporters clubs as well. Kaiser, I believe, was in there as well, I've seen. So, listen, absolutely brilliant to see all of these guys in there. They were talking about the building on the recent no confidence, obviously for the removal of Michael Nicholson, Chris Mackay and Peter Lawwell, and listen, in there as well, it was unanimous. Everybody's on the same page and we all want the same thing going forward. So last night was the beginning for me of just building a group, a representative body for the fan base, for everybody in the chat, for all the people who follow us, for us to then be your voice, because not everybody has access to these people, but now we're making that possible. We're all going to come together and we're going to be as one. So if anybody's got any views, they come to us, they give us a view, and we'll take it forward. And when we go to the next meeting, we'll raise that concern and go, such and such said this to us, and we want to progress this going forward.
To jump in, Paddy, just on that, has there been anything, because obviously, we can speak, if folk say, well, how am I meant to get my voice across? I'm sure that we put it out at platforms like this, we'll take in the information, and whether it's us, whether it's, 20-minute Tims, 4 Tims, whether it's Axom, whoever it may well be, Ryan 118, they'll absorb people if you watch them are saying, and they'll fire it out there. But was there any discussion about what a fan who's, I guess you could say, non-affiliated, they're no part of a supporters club, they're no part of a podcast or a platform, is there any way that they're going to allow access for those people to have a say one way or another?
Well, I put something in the chat, it never got raised on the night, but what I had said is I thought it'd be a great idea to get all the supporters clubs, all the podcasts and everybody to stay behind after one of the games. Outside, every single podcast goes live. Every supporters club stays there. We go live, we get the media involved, we show our discontent, we show that we're not happy, and we get as many Celtic fans there as possible, and we protest outside the stadium, even if it's just for 1 hour outside the stadium, because all of them that have to leave, they have to go out.
Strength in numbers show.
Of course it is. You want to make it not peaceful, but you don't want any hassle. You don't want there to be any malice involved in any of it. And obviously there's a lot of people in the chat and stuff last night, and a few people, this needs to be done and that needs to be done. But at the end of the day, you need to be a collective, and I think we're going about it the right way, a democratic way, if you call it that. We need to be productive. We need to be a voice for our followers, and I'm quite happy to do that. I've been added into a group chat tonight as well, and that's got, again, everyone who was at that meeting last night in there. So again, a great place to raise more points. So if anybody has got ideas on how we can progress with this going forward, obviously the one that's been brought out, Steve, has been the late arrival to the Kilmarnock game that's going to be shown on Sky Sports. So it was spoke on the night that we would enter 10 minutes after the game, but obviously now that's been changed and it's 12 minutes for the 12th man. I'll get it up just now. I don't know if you've got it on screen.
I've got it loaded in. So, as I say, if you want to bring up any of the other points there, because obviously there was the follow-up that you sort of seen here. This was about the sort of, from the consultation at the fans meeting, that's basically covering some of the points there that Paddy's mentioned. Of course, it's a 2-pager. You've probably seen this on social media, and of course this is what's come out of there, which is the 12 minutes without the 12th man. So the game versus Kilmarnock, the idea being that people will withdraw from the stadium, maybe go into concourse or whatever it may well be. It'll be silent, there'll be banners out, I believe, over the seating area. People, of course, will, and they're perfectly entitled to go in if they want to be in there from the kickoff, but the large body of fans and the supporters groups and the likes of the boys and the Green Brigade, they want to hold back. Is that correct there, Paddy?
Yeah, that's spot on, mate. What they did say in there as well is obviously there is going to be people who want to go in to the stadium, but they don't want a scab mentality. That's going, oh, look at you going in, stay here and support the cause and blah, blah. If people want to go in, you let them go in. It's as simple as that. We're not going to force people to do what they don't want to do. And it was the same with the home ticket scheme and the Europa League ticket scheme and things like that. If someone wants to buy those tickets, let them. By all accounts, you're never going to control the full fan base. But if we can control enough of us, if enough of us have the opinion and enough of us are willing to do the dirty work, like even Ryan 118 was there last night, he had said, I'm a fan. I don't want to be missing games. I pay my season ticket. I want to watch the games. However, I am a supporter of this cause, so I will do what needs to be done. And I think that's the way you need to see it. You need to see the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture is, if we stick together, we can get change. Do you know what I mean? Viva la revolution, people, let's do this.
That's it. It's the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So, I've given my opinions and everything like that. As I've said before, not everyone will agree with it. Some will, some won't. But like that, I totally stand with anyone who wants to do all of these things. And I would be joining them in that as well. I just, I want things to get back to the football and back to the fans the way it should be.
So Paddy,
on that as well, Steve, on it as well, when they said about, obviously, coming back into the stadium. They said we want to evict the players on the park know that they're supported, so there's going to be a lot of noise. I'm quite excited to see how this is going to be going forward. So this is the first step. The first step was getting us all together. The second step is now getting this up and running for the Kilmarnock game, which is going to be shown in Sky Sports. So it's going to be worldwide, basically. It's going to be shown there on that platform, and I hope the commentators talk about it. I hope they say, sorry, wait a minute.
Paddy's talking about, in case you're not aware, Paddy's in the middle of the sea, so he's going to be tannoys going off every now and then to get a fucking jab in the ribs to tell him to go. Aye, that's it.
I know. So, sorry, lads. Yeah, basically, I'm looking forward to see how this goes, because this is the second step of this revolution, we'll call it. And basically, the 12 minutes without the fans, I hope it's silent. I hope they talk about it. I hope whoever's doing the commentary says, look at this. This is them making a statement because they're not happy with, get them on screen, get the three guys on screen, because no doubt they'll be there tomorrow.
I think, Paddy, there's a few things that I want to get through that folk are asking here right now. Obviously, you were there, you weren't there in person. I've personally not seen this, but Gary Duffy's saying, for example, that one other podcast, not named, don't want you to name them, because obviously, again, the problem that we have with these things is everybody will have different opinions, and we don't want to create a sort of divided mentality. It's not about saying they're good guys, they're bad guys. Other people will support the club in different ways. And you've got to accept that. I think that's the key point here. But did you get a flavour? Was there any supporters groups? Was there any podcasters, fan media, or anything that you could sense that they seemed to not be quite in agreement with, or that there was a divide? Was it pretty much, was it in unison?
Listen, I was only online. Kaiser might be able to help us out in the chat. Obviously, Kaiser was present on the night as well. But for me, I didn't see any discontent or anything. I thought it was very well run. Everyone seemed to be on the same page. Everyone was in agreement with what needs to be done, and I think everybody raised great points as well. There was people there from all over. There was people from Dublin. There was people from Brazil and stuff in the place. Obviously, just over on holiday, everyone had got the email and thought that they would go along. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible to think that the amount of people that were there. But for me, everybody seemed in.
I think when we spoke earlier on, Paddy, you said there was a couple of questions, random like supporters buses and things like that were asked about certain actions, because obviously by large they were agreed and were sort of together on one thing. But as I say, and this is important, people will make their own decisions, and it's important that we respect that. Was there any sort of occasions of that at the meeting where folk maybe says, well, I'm not quite agreeing with that, where it was home ticket scheme, where it was Europa League, where it was not attending certain games or things like that?
A little bit, but I mean, you're always going to have, if you've got 50 people on a bus and you say, right, we're going to boycott the first European game, I guarantee at least 10 of the people are going to go, no, I'd like to go, actually. Do you know what I mean? You're never going to control the full fan base, and that's fine. You don't have to. As long as we can control 50%, then I think we are in a good way going forward. This is a massive step, and it's an absolutely incredible step that's been taken. And listen, I'm happy to be part of it. I really am, and I think that going forward, this will ruffle a few feathers, and hopefully we get the results that we need.
So see for yourselves, guys, down below, start with yourself there, Paul. Obviously, we know, and we've briefly spoke about this sort of, it's a bit of togetherness, right? And I think the underlying message for anybody that I heard that was in attendance at the meeting, certainly when I spoke to Paddy briefly earlier on and after it last night, the general consensus is it's about being respectful. Now, I am not saying that it's going to happen, but there always will be, unfortunately, certain individuals within our fan base where if you're standing outside and you're standing with the crowd, you're not going in and folk are walking by and there may be some unsavoury things shouted and this and that. And I think that you shouldn't have that opinion. I'm just bringing this up just to show that there's a balance here of this opinion. For example, Football is Life is saying here that basically, if you're not a true Celtic fan, if you're not against the board, he then goes on to say that if you are not standing tall and waiting outside, that you are part of the problem. Now, I think there's a fine line, isn't there? I mean, where do we go with this one? Because I'm just using as an example, if Paddy takes his wee boy to the game, right? the wee boys want to go in, he's excited. It's going to be hard, is it not, for maybe a parent to turn and go, you're not getting in because your dad's not happy with them.
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important that we do this, that our protests are loud, they're prominent, but as Paddy says, they're savoury, they're above board. They don't do anything that's verging into grey areas, it's verging into criminality, that's going to reflect poorly on the cause of the fans and basically allow the board to just look down upon us further. But it's also important as well that we respect other people's choices, and everybody are for different backgrounds and walks of life. There might be people there that have never been to a game, and because it was happening, they've had an opportunity to get a ticket.
Aye.
Want to go in, right? So I think that's important, isn't it?
It is. You have to be respectful. I think the way that this is mobilised quite quickly, and with the kind of fan groups being involved right from the kind of start, that there is a constructive effort to make it, united and to make it respectful. There has to be that kind of bit of come and go where, look, there will be fans that will have other opinions that do want to go in and, the likes of the game at Kilmarnock, there'll be people that will be in the stadium, but the impact, it doesn't matter about that, the impact of all these people together coming in, and when they come in, they're going to make a rapturous kind of noise and make it be heard. We've not been here now, we're here to back the team. That 12 minutes without the support there, some people have been commenting as well, saying that there'll be players that are affected by that. See, if you're a football player, a professional so-called football player, and you're wondering and waiting, where's the fans? I don't think players' minds are on that. They're focused on playing football, hopefully, although sometimes I wonder with the last few games. But yeah, a united front with this, respectful, I think it will have an impact. It doesn't matter, what other ways you look at it in terms of, whether there'll be naysayers and people who are kind of not in the same kind of sheet with it, but I think the impact of it will be huge, and I think it'll be significant, and it's just the first step to what has to follow. And there should be plenty more style kind of protests and peaceful kind of demonstrations, and fans letting this club know exactly what we think of how they're running the show.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yourself, Paul, just to come on, I just for again the balance of the comments, the football is life, and again, as we're here, we're all about sort of free debate, and that's healthy. Completely disagrees with me. That's fine, mate. Completely disagrees with me and insists that these people are part of the problem. I'm not saying that football is life would be shouting at, families and Waynes get in. Yeah. I'm not saying that he would do that, but what I mean is it's important to split that everybody's circumstances are different. That's all I'm going to say on it. That's where I'm at with it. I respect everybody that follows our team. I admit that I will disagree with folk, and I can't see how people can get on board with the board and back them and say, well, forget all this, look at all the success they've brought us. I can't buy into that mindset, but I can understand that people, as I say, have a choice to make, and not everybody is going to, stand firm on it, and that is the reality of it. Everybody's got their own things. There'll be people who quite literally, for right or for wrong, don't care one way or another, that all they want to see is Celtic, whatever version of Celtic that is, good, bad or indifferent. That's all they're interested in, is going in there and watching the ball get kicked about the pitch. Don't care about everything else. Now, people say that's not a true Celtic fan. Everybody's different. We just happen to be fans that know everything about the board and are obsessed over it, and we live and breathe it. There's literally people who are there and all they're interested in is on the pitch.
That's fine, and there will always be, in any club, there'll be that kind of split, if you like. But the way that our club in particular, although we've been very, very successful, it just pains me that this season our rivals have spent more than we've spent. Our board have been sitting in their hands, happy to just malaise through a transfer window. There's stuff going on in the background with players, stuff going on with managers. There's players that don't look as if they're interested. There's a manager who's made several almost pleas in press conferences to get back in and highlighting what we need. And it's all fell on deaf ears. And now we're getting into the start of the season. I know we've got a few games under our belt and we're sitting pretty, but we have to maintain that. We'll just have to see how the season pans out. We definitely need more players.
Yep, I'd see another one for Paul here. Rod Stewart, there is no chance. You and I both know it. Rod is not doing it because he likes that wee warm seat every now and then. Do you know what I mean? He likes getting his prawn sandwiches and he likes
Aye.
schmoozing with a big mustachio. But
Sky Sports.
can you imagine the likes if he done that? No chance. There's too many guys that are fairer in their nest and he's one of them. But, you know, Joe, with regards to this here, I like this point that's made here, right? This is exactly, see, the fans are largely united, right?
This is exactly what I was going to come on to. You kind of touched on it for a second there. The problem that we have is the whole 12th minute, etc. If something breaks out there where people are starting to argue between themselves, Celtic fan to Celtic fan, the problem is it gives the board ammo essentially as well to claim that they can unite us and everything like that by doing this, that, and the next thing. No, that's not. We don't want them to unite us. We want to stay united and be united as fans and as a fan group. Whether the people, like you say Paddy brings the wee man along to the game or something like that, wants to go in, wants to sit down. Even folk that have been supporters for 40, 50 years and have got a bad back or something, you don't know someone's story, that standing outside 12 minutes or something along those kind of lines could be detrimental to their health or their fitness or anything. So please, everyone who gets involved in it, just be respectful. Don't say about a ghost. There's no point, talk amongst yourselves. Make your points known, yes, but let's not fall into the rabbit hole of becoming divided.
Because I think to jump in on that, I think what we don't want to do, and this is very important, we always talk about being a club open to all and welcoming, right?
Yeah.
What we don't want to do is we don't want to, and people say, toughen up, but you don't want to frighten away people from going to the game if these things are happening. And there will be people who will be, whether you believe it or not, they'll be intimidated or will be, be back off. There'll be people there, there might be people that are of a nervous disposition, for example, and you might not know it because you wouldn't know.
Forced into it.
And this is the thing. But if you go there and you make these people feel uncomfortable, the last thing we want to do is alienate sections of our fan base. Coming together and watching the game, whatever point you get into the stadium, that's when you should all be coming together. We're all there for a common cause. And as we say, just respectfully treat those and see that there's different walks.
Listen, we've all got Celtic tops, of course, sitting in our wardrobe, every single one here, and of course all the fans who are sitting commenting as well, right? I'm sure between us we've travelled almost every single point of the globe, and almost every single person we've bumped into from a foreign country has said, Celtic fans, great. We want to continue that. We don't want to turn into this bitter group where there's a massive divide in the middle, or even worse odds than that, 75-25, etc. We don't want any of that. We don't want any trouble brought to the fans' doors. There's no point, there's no need for it. We want to still be that happy team and that group of supporters that everyone loves whenever we visit. We be respectful, we, mind our P's and Q's, etc., the same as we do here in this podcast. We try our best to do so every single time, and that's the way it needs to be.
Well, that's the thing, and we'll move on for it and try and steer away a wee bit, because I'm sure folk are getting bored there at this chat. We've probably overdosed on it over the past couple of days, as I say, and I agree. Like, one thing I will say, and I agree with football's like saying these happy clappers, and it's a generalised term, they annoy the life out of me. Well, as I say, they annoy the life out of me as well. But my interpretation of what a happy clapper is different for everybody else, right? Or maybe different, certainly different for football's life, I believe. I don't believe that somebody walking into the game because they choose to do that makes them a happy clapper. I don't, and I think that, as we say, we're hard and fast in our ways. I'm pretty sure that if we were there individually on our day ourselves, we would quite happily stand outside for the 10 minutes and go on, right. Yeah. But as I say, circumstances might change. If you take Ian along, for example, it's a hard sell to kind of do that. As I say, there's different people, different backgrounds. I just think that for me, a happy clapper is more people who are satisfied with mediocrity and openly voice that. I'm not, for all you know, some of those people that are walking in decide to go in, they might have that mindset, but you won't know that. That's not, that action doesn't make them that. I'm talking
it's the people that ignore the actions of the board,
I am talking about people who come out and still back them up, that still say what you're complaining about, that look at all the signings, the people that can't see that there's something needing fixed, and they are quite happy to vocalise that. That to me is a happy clapper. But anyway, it is what it is. We move on, and as we say, I think it's safe to say, Paddy, off the back of that meeting, as we say, there's a fan media group that's getting put together. People are getting added as and when they are confirming, yes, put me into that, and it's going to be a nice sort of central hub for us to get updates on further outcomes, further meetings, further planned things, and keep everybody in the loop. Of course, anything that we get in that, you'll get it off all those other platforms, you'll get it off here as and when. We'll share that across our social media. But looking into the good thing, let's get back to the football, guys, right? Football's back. Rangers play Hearts on Saturday. That's going to be interesting. Maybe Hearts are going to try this time, right? But I don't know. Right? But back to business for us. We saw a couple of those wee Lennoxtown unfiltered things, right? Now, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and sort of rewrite history and opinion. But we spoke here, Paddy, about the important for the managers to get the buy-in off the players. We need energy, we need freshness, we need positivity. Now, I know it's a wee tiny 5-second clip, but we all saw the video when he runs up and he sees Iheanacho, and it's massive smiles and hugs and slapping fists, and you know what I mean, and Balikwisha. And these are guys that have obviously been off his hand. He's wanted to come in. That's just a start to see, but that hopefully that will segue through and go into the rest of the team, and it'll filter in and the positivity there. But I spoke to you, Paddy, and I says, see, between now and January, correct me if I'm wrong, I am still uncertain of what you're going to get out of Yang. I'm still uncertain of what you're going to get out of Trusty. I'm still uncertain of what you're going to get out of Maeda. As far as I can see, we are pinning our goal-scoring threats, our attacking, the need to get the games done and dealt with over the line on essentially 3 new signings, Tuneke, Balikwisha and Iheanacho.
Yeah, listen, it is. It's a tough one going forward. I seen something earlier on as well, and it was all down to the Dies and Maeda thing. And as you touched on, Steve, we're going to go over it a wee bit. When he was on international duty, he reported to Japanese media that he'd received an offer to move on away from Celtic. Spoken to Celtic and told them that he was wanting to pursue this, that he had wanted to go further and push the move. And Celtic basically told him no, because again they didn't have a suitable replacement for him. Dyson said he had the terms agreed with the other club, and after kind of going through it, he said when he was told that he couldn't leave, he says it's okay then, I will stay and I will give Celtic my best. Now, yes, we haven't seen the best of Dyson Maeda, we haven't seen anything close to it in my opinion, but I think we will start to see that. And I seen something pop out today as well saying that Celtic are going to hold talks with Dyson over a new contract. Now, if that new contract is going to go ahead, then I think Celtic need to start that contract by saying, Dyson, you are going to be your number one striker, you're going to be our boy through the middle. Because if they've brought in Iheanacho, they've not brought him in for nothing. He is going to want to play football. But then again, Dyson is going to want to play through the middle as well, because that's where he plays for Japan. So I think there's going to have to be promises there. And going forward, I don't know if Celtic can actually make them to Dyson. I'd love to see him sign on for another 3-4 years or whatever, but only so that I know we're going to sell him in either January or next transfer window. But if he signs a bigger contract, then we're going to get a few more pennies for him. And not that that makes any difference, because the board will just pile up with the rest of it. But
I was going to say, why you want new pennies?
I know. Like you said on the football side of stuff, Steve, it was brilliant to have it back. Excited to have it back. It's hard being offshore when you don't have football to look forward to. Yes, with the Scotland games and stuff like that, but it's different. It's not Celtic. It breaks your trip up when you've got the football to look forward to. Obviously, next trip will have European games, and then I'll have football at the weekend. It'll be no problem with a canter. But
you and me on Sunday, son.
Aye, that's it.
Well,
Get yourself down, mate.
See, in terms of this, looking at the game, we know yourself, Paul, you're a massive Dyson Maeda fan. You know, you've definitely been advocating for long periods of time. You know, we don't need to trundle over what was said, but it was quite it was maybe a wee bit surprising that we thought he was going to be off. And, you know, as Brown Warrior's saying there, he's reckon he's going to get a focused version of him because he'll be looking to work his ticket. As we said before, it's in the best interest of all these guys, isn't it? To plug their brains back in, get back on, you know, on song and put in the best, because ultimately if they want to move and they want to get a decent move come January, if that's probably what it's going to be, then you can't do that being half-arsed and half-baked, which frankly Maeda had been. See, based on what had happened in the fallout and even the likes of Ian Acho, I think he said that he more than likely is going to be on the bench, right? Would you start Maeda? Would you go back to that well straight away?
Yes, I would, because you know what you're going to get from him. And now that this has came out, talking about the fact that there was an offer on the table and everything else, that's football. Whether we like it or not, that's exactly what goes on. He's been upfront enough to come out and speak in Japan. A lot of people would have criticised that and saying, "Oh, you know, don't open your mouth." Our board would have loved for him to be censured in some way, but he's a human being. He's allowed to speak, and he's come out and told us exactly what was going on. They'll obviously want to have a chat with him about obviously trying to sign him on. I think he'll be away in January, if I'm being honest. I love his energy, his enthusiasm. Wasn't it so long ago we were watching videos of him doing press-ups in the dugout while he was either coming on or off the park. What he's given us, the 30 goals in that season, the contributions before that since he came in with Ange, he's an all-rounder. I thoroughly suspect that in January there'll be an offer will come in from Ange, potentially, or maybe this club in Germany. Might well look at taking him back to Germany. I would love to see him, if he did leave, I'd love to see him in a place with Ange and all that and the romance of it all. But at the end of the day, we need to think of what's going to be beneficial for Celtic. We would get a lot of money for him. Whether that would be reinvested in January, I doubt, because January, as we know, is even harder to get, you know, big talent and good names in, or players that are ready to hit the ground running and come into your team in January. But no, to answer your question, I went off on a tangent there, didn't I?
I guess fine.
I think the guys I don't think MD was surprised. I don't know if any of you, it's no came as a surprise, this, because we've seen the kind of change in his play, and he's looked quite, shoulders have dropped. He's not looked the same pumped up, invigorated figure that he's been certainly this season. But I would start him. I don't know, Ian Acho's, he looked fit enough, Ian Acho, in the training video from what I saw. He looks lean enough. He looks like somebody who's ready to play football. There was this rubbish doing the rounds, probably from fans of another club trying to paint him up as being some Morelos lookalike. He very much looks like a guy that's sharp enough. Aye, he looked all right. But I would go with Maeda at the weekend through the middle, and just once I've had that chat behind the scenes, let him loose on Kelly, and I think we'll see a good response from him.
Well, there's a few different opinions coming in. I'll fire some into yourself there, Joe. You know, Brown Water is saying Yamada to get a chance. Now, this is interesting, because a guy that was omitted from the Europa League squad, which I found, quite frankly, completely bizarre, to be honest with you. Is that, where are you at with that? Because if the manager's not going to pick you for the games that, let's face it, are the ones that are going to get you some money, and that the fans, regardless, say we don't want to be in the Europa, you still want to do well in it. If you can't get into that squad, then is he going to just dump you in and get you a start against Kilmarnock? I know it's Kilmarnock, and I know that it is, but, you know.
The way I see it is, everyone knows how Brendan plays now, and he really likes his kind of set pieces to start in certain competitions. So, in all honesty, dropping Yamada from Europa League, does that mean then he's almost a set piece, if not at least a first go-to for domestic? You know, that's the way that I view it. So I'm going, right, well, he's given him his chance at domestic. Does that mean then Dyson gets Europa? Because if Dyson gets Europa definite and he's through the middle, then that also looks good for his World Cup card as well, doesn't it? So at the same time, I think that's probably how he's playing it. He's heard these comments from Dyson, I'm sure in person, as well as what's been posted in the media. We've probably only got a fraction of what the real thoughts were. I don't blame Dyson for his comments, is what I will say, because we're only human, right? And he's got to speak his feelings, and as you say, he's free to do so as well. I think that he still will give Celtic 100%. I don't think he'll give it 110 like he did last season, where he was 30 goals, etc. But I think he will still give 100%, or because he needs to at the end of the day. He has to, because he has to sign off his career at Celtic well to be able to go World Cup, etc. So yeah, that's the way I see the whole Yamada, Shin, whatever you want to reference it as, and Dyson working out personally. I think Shin will probably get the opportunity more on the domestic side. Build his confidence with that as well. Yeah, 100%. I'd like to see it. Build his confidence with it, and if we can still come away with the league as well, double, treble, whatever it may be.
Oh, double
fantastic.
Treble.
Listen, I'm
180.
Be optimistic, guys. Come on, like you've got to be.
Just the treble.
So,
what about the Europa League, Joe?
Well, we'll take that as well. We might as well, but we've got Dyson there, so that's obvious. We will take that.
Oh my God, that's
so. Listen, someone's got to be optimistic out of you, sour bastards.
What are we going to do?
Tough times.
It's just one of these things, where
see what happens when the band's back together.
Exactly. No, that's the way I see it playing out in terms of Maeda and Shin getting their opportunities and where they're going to get their opportunities personally.
I mean, do you agree with that, Paddy? Do you agree? Do you think then he's quite, he's maybe says, nah, no for me on a European front, but I will use you and allow you to maybe prove yourself in, shall we just say, slightly lesser games, your matches against Livingston, your games against Kilmarnock, kind of things like that as well, and manage the squad. But aside from that thought there, bank that one on Shin. Iheanacho comes in, and yeah, he comes in and he looks fit, doesn't he? But he can always look brilliant dribbling through cones on the park and smashing it into a goalie that doesn't move. I hope he recaptures his form, because he's proven before that he does have something. Let's be honest, if we're being brutal, stinking run at Middlesbrough and a pretty tragic looking run at Sevilla. But things could be different here. How many times has Celtic picked a guy who's been down in their luck, down in the dumps, needing to reinvent, and they get an opportunity? He's still a good age. There's still plenty of football left in that guy. And he comes to us on a 1 year with an option a year. But what I thought was interesting is, I don't know if you saw this, it's again rumour and innuendo that goes around that words that apparently it's been fed through that he wasn't of the opinion that Brendan Rodgers was going to leave at the end of the season, which I can't see that. But hopefully he thinks that and he gets bought in, mate.
Listen, it's one of the things. It's a position that we needed to strengthen. It's a position that we were left short in, and this guy, I think we could commented on a night, Steve. Well, this is one that Brendan's went into his own phone book and went, right, wait a minute, who have I got here? Kalechi, how you doing, me man? Do you fancy coming out to say like, aye, right, see you in a couple of days, mate. There you come. And then all the things about saying he was unfit, and I seen a couple of clips of him as well, and looking overweight and punting the ball over the bar when he was 6 or 7 yards out and stuff like that. But there's a player in there, the old cliche. You've seen it before, and obviously the cup. He used to get the cup games when Vardy was getting rested when he was playing at Leicester, and he looked decent. Looked like he had a decent turn of pace about him. Looked like he could finish. I'd like him to come in and prove us all wrong. Shows that he's going to be a different option. He's a total different player to Yamada. He's not going to be holding the ball up. He's not going to be one of these guys that's going to be throwing himself about muscle-wise. He's somebody that's going to want to get in behind, and somebody that's going to want to put defenders under pressure. He's going to want to take players on, and that's something that I think we've lacked up front for a wee while. Obviously, when we play Dyson there, Dyson's not really one that's going to take you on. Dyson's going to want to beat you for pace. He's going to kick the ball past you. But I think you hear Nacho.
I think that's a good point that Brown Water makes as well. And some of his goals, he's not scared to crack a ball from outside the box. And I think that's, again, something that if you says we've always depended on, flash balls across the box or runs in behind. As you says, he's happy to face up a defender, do a wee bit of footwork, try to find an angle and take a shot, which, let's be honest, so a lot of last season, you look at some of the goals of the likes of Cal McGregor, some of our best goals were coming from outside the box, somebody just having the bravery to take a shot rather than try to walk it in the net. So that could work out, couldn't it?
Sorry if I can nip in. That's something that I'm constantly putting in the group chat, constantly commenting on. We never gamble. We seem to have this rigid kind of tried and tested formula. Work it into the box, pass. Teams are already set up 5 deep, as we'll see against Kilmarnock, who are ready to accept that all day long. Mix it up, have a shot, try something different. That'd be my advice.
What did you think, Paddy? I don't know if you saw it on Sky Sports. Gordon Duncan walking. I can't remember the boy for Kilmarnock. He was on the pitch and he's saying about how Celtic are in a great position to play them now. They're in a bad spot. Joint top of the league, no loss. Their performances have been brilliant. But I mean, come on. Is it a good time to play Celtic? Is it a good time to play Celtic, Paddy?
If there's ever going to be a good time to play Celtic, this is it, because there's a bit of discontent in the fan base. That's probably what they're saying. Like you say, Steve, we're undefeated, whether they like it or not. We get beaten penalties to get knocked out of the European competition, but I just feel like it's good. Let them underestimate us, because we know how Kelly are going to set up. You say it's 5 at the back. I'll probably better you on that, mate, with the flat back 10, the old favourite, and just basically sit back until we try and break them down. I'm excited to see what Iheanacho brings. Like you say, Steve, different option, and I think he's got the experience. When we do flash the balls across the face of the goal, he's got the experience to be there or thereabouts. He's a striker. He's a penalty box striker, as well as being somebody who's not afraid to have a shot. We've lacked that, somebody that's afraid to have a shot since Matt O'Reilly left, and David Turnbull left. These were the guys that we had in the squad. The only player we've really got in there right now that's willing to do that is probably McCowan. And you notice that when he comes on, he's the one that changes the game. He's the one that really wants to have a crack. He tries to make that bit of space. Arnie Engels always looks for the pass. Hatate, occasionally you'll get a crack out of him, but we're not seeing it on a regular basis, and that's something that I think we need to see. It's people that are willing to just, when you get the ball and you see an opening, have a dig. I'm fed up seeing this tiny wee passes and, like you said, trying to walk the ball into the back of the net, because it's not working, especially if you've got 10 men behind the ball, because you're not going to do it. And we don't score enough set pieces. Hopefully having guys in like Dane Murray or somebody like that, he's the only defender that I've seen actually attack a ball in the opposition half. I mean,
you've mentioned defenders there, and I think that's a good sort of wee segue into that dilemma, if you want to call it that. Of course, Joe, we know that there's going to be, we're sitting here talking about who's going to play up front. Is it going to be Maeda through the middle? Is it going to be Yamada? We've not even spoken about Kenny, who the manager seems to like. But a lot of questions are coming in. We'll look at the back. Alistair Johnson's out. Word on the street is that Ralston's and Sonny are moonboot, and he's not looking. So that means young Donovan, of course, more than likely, he's the guy that comes in. And that's good. I think it's good to bring him into these kind of games where, Kelly are going to be a tough physical game. That's the way they play. And it's all right, the pitch is garbage. It's much improved, I'm led to believe. But, bringing in Donovan looks as if it's going to take care of itself. But then the big questions are, do you play Carter Vickers? Do you play Kieran Tierney? Are you playing them because you have to?
I know.
Do you have to hands off and
on games like that, do you want to sacrifice some of your best players and things like that? Now, don't get me wrong, Carter Vickers hasn't been fantastic as of late. We all know that as well. But yeah, do you sacrifice these kind of players that you're going to be calling upon and relying upon in the harder games, whether it be up against Rangers, even Hearts this season and stuff like that as well, and Aberdeen, I'm sure, will have their piece to make too. So yeah, it's a really difficult one. The back is somewhere that we've kind of ignored for the past 2 seasons. We've had some great changes in and changes out during matches, but we've not seen any different players to what we're used to. I mean, Ralston, I actually quite like Ralston for some reason. I don't know why. He's kind of one of the OGs in a way, Like I don't know what it is about him. Sometimes
He's a
he's
Celtic man.
phenomenal as well with the long ball, and he can really scare folk with the long ball, which I think is something that we've been missing from our game for a long time. I've said it numerous times.
We see when you're talking about the way we're going to play, just to sort of
Yeah.
wrap things up. There's a good point. See, because Rubber Duck saying, hope we don't overplay, right?
Aye.
But here's the point. Can you overplay? See on the pitch that Kelly have got, right? Old cliche, horses for courses. There's no point doing your heavy base possession and trying to spray it and horseshoe it and find intricate passes on that surface, right? You've got to surely just go for it. You've got to be forward. You've got to be direct. You've got to sort of, instead of trying to do something in 15 passes, do it in 5.
Well, that's what I was going to say. See, instead of doing 40 passes right up to the box, why are you doing that? Get the bloody long ball in and get someone in the box. It's as simple as that. It's how the game was made. First of all, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
There's a great point as well. Not only we're talking about Kieran Tierney and CCV, right? Even Balakwisha, a guy that's had recurring injury problems. Yes, you want him playing. Yes, you want him out there. But we're finding ourselves with these artificial pitches that we're maybe really going to have to sort of manage the squad a bit better than we expected. Now, I'm not saying that Balakwisha can't play on it, but it's a big question, isn't it? It's one.
I'm not being funny. You watch them on TV programs and you see these like failing athletes and things like that. They take them back to their old council pitch or council course or whatever the heck it may be. I play golf. I play golf on majority council courses. They're absolutely crap. And then see when I get the opportunity to play a great course, I play brilliant because I'm used to playing.
I
play brilliant. Brilliant-ish.
He's lying.
Shut up, Paddy. You're on mute.
Teams are talking about that. Can I just jump in? Sorry.
On these good ones because of that terrible learning on the terrible courses, Sorry, Paddy, carry on.
No, you're all good. You think back to us as kids, Steve. We used to play in Ash Parks down behind St Stephen's. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't care. It didn't matter what it was, if it was grass, if it was made of tarmac, or if it was the old Ash Parks. You played on it and you played to the best of your ability.
These are where the best players are born.
Jumpers for goalposts.
Aye, jumpers for goalposts, anything, man. It doesn't matter.
You are sounding ancient.
Next goal's a winner. Dinner's ready.
See when you think about it, we used to sub Simunovic every single time. He never played against Kelly. At Kelly, he was always on the bench, and it was simply because he couldn't play on that surface. Yeah. And I think when you look at it, it's a time for you to put out players that might be in your reserve squad, we'll call it that. Your guys like Big Dave Murray, who I think has been absolutely fantastic every chance he's been given. William Scales, I think, has been phenomenal if he's come in. A couple of poor passes and whatever else, and obviously puts the fear of God into people when he starts running forward. I think you've got to play Donovan at right back, because obviously Tony Ralston's kicking about with a big shoe on. And then KT, you're going to get probably 60 minutes out of KT if you play him on that, or do you then start Inamura, who again, when he's come in, albeit against lesser opposition, has looked good.
I
know, I really don't, mate, because you think back to the game against the Baddies, Kieran Tierney looked done in when he was running out the dugout at the start of the game. And that, for me, I think it needs to be managed properly if we're going to get the best out of him. And there was a lot of things in the chat there as well, and I just want to comment on it. People saying about Callum McGregor, where do you move Callum McGregor to? There's a lot of people saying they'll just move him slightly to the right onto the bench and let Engels come in. And listen, that's the way things are going just now. But
his legs are gone.
I don't think you can drop him, though. I really don't. And Steve, remember I come on, I gave him a big passionate speech about how you can't drop our captain, our leader, the person who I feel can drive that team on, a person who can grab that team by the scruff of the neck and make a difference. Yes, we didn't see that in the Kyrat games. Yes, we didn't see it in the game against the Baddies. But I still feel that you need that person in there.
Well, Paddy, see if Cal McGregor is going to not necessarily reinvent himself, but make amends, if you want to call it that, right? With all the backdrop that we've spoke about, with all the sort of letdown of the fans, off him coming out asking for those players, off the manager, so on and so forth, the discontent between fans and board, the contempt that the board are showing us, right? If he's anything worth his salt as a leader and as a captain, he should be galvanising the team, bringing them all together, as we say, and we're saying, yes, the backdrop, we can't control that. This is what we control on the pitch. Let's make it happen. Those fans are doing what they're doing for a reason, for a purpose. They're here to support us, but they're the people that can inflict and cause change. We can only do what we can do. Winning, losing, that ain't going to affect change at the boardroom level. Let's be honest, it's no. Their job is winning. And if he can't get a tune out of the team from a leadership standpoint, then aye. Do you know what I mean? It's a bad day.
Think back to when we spoke to Peter Grant on here, Steve-O, and Peter said the exact same thing. We spoke to him about the sack the board movement, and Peter said, do you know what, we were aware of it, but our job was on the park. And we had to carry on with our job. We had to make sure that we were given 110%. And do you know what? The players are aware of this. Of course they are. And they'll be aware of what's going to happen prior to that game kicking off. At 4 o'clock, I believe, as well, which seems a weird time. But stupid o'clock. But good if you're on a night shift, I suppose. But aye, if the players are aware of it and they want to go out there, do you know what? Make the fans miss a goal. If you're annoyed at the fans, like, go out there and batter them for the first 12 minutes and get a goal and silence the fan base that way, and then that would probably bring an end to that, wouldn't it? If there was any discontent with the players and the fans, but I don't think there is. I think they're all together. I think having guys at the course at the games like Callum, Jamesy, Scalesy, whoever, all these guys who are Celtic fans, having them there, even be like McCowan, these are guys who are going to drum this into the foreign players and say, listen, this needs to be done. We need change. And obviously you don't want to be bad mouthing your employer, and we've seen that with Callum when he came out and done his interview. He's basically, my motivation is on the park and we'll do what we can do, and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Bing bong.
We need one of them in this chat, I'm telling you. We need one of them. Hold on, I've got a point to make.
Oh, and on that, that's a great segue. Bing bong. Good evening, shoppers. There is a brand new range of Celtic clothing available from the Superstore.
Oh,
Please form an order.
Terrace clothing. All that's crucial on Sunday.
Steve, let me jump in here. With you saying that, Steve, on the merchandise coming out, that was another thing that was brought up at the meeting last night, and it was about boycotting the merchandise and boycotting it specifically from the Celtic stores. Now, somebody had said, if you don't do this, if you boycott all of the Celtic shops and stuff, then that's going to make somebody lose their job, and we don't want that, because then they're going to go, all right, we don't need Celtic shops anymore. Sorry.
I will jump in. We've been told from a reliable source now, again, call it happy calm, call it whatever, right? They always say that every penny that is bought, merchandise or otherwise, from the Celtic shop goes directly into the club, right? That's what we're told, and that's it. So, yes, by way of buying from the club, you would be giving them all of your money. Now, we've been told from a very reliable source that if you buy from a third-party vendor, i.e. you go to Adidas or you go to JD Sports, they only get around about 20% of that. Now, again, that's still giving them, but again, it comes back to the Wigan wants a top, the Wigan wants something for the new range. You go, no, you're not getting it because you're not as raging with the club, right? You will still bring down the revenue by going to one of these third-party vendors. That's a top tip if you want to. If you're a wee bit like Paddy, who will be honest and say it, he's a slave. He loves his gear. He loves his clothing. He loves to get clad out in all the Celtic gear. He loves it. But aye, he'll go elsewhere to buy it probably.
Yeah. What they had said on that, mate, was boycott the Celtic stores for buying the merchandise and buy shares with it, and then try and make our voice even louder. Try and get meetings sorted and things like that. Yeah, listen, it was all about boycotting that as well, mate. Boycotting the Europa League games and boycotting the away ticket scheme and things like that. But listen, you're never going to control the full fan base. As Steve said, I am the complete Celtic dad. Will I buy this new top that's out? Of course I will, because I don't have it yet.
Buy me
And
one?
that's simply the reason. I'll buy you one as well if you want, Paul. I'm out here doing nothing else. I'm making money like confetti. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what it is, mate. Yeah, no problem. Props for everybody. There you go.
But yeah,
Ping pong, we all want one.
It was funny though that, as we say, is that communication. They all came out and told us how much the Europa League package was because they had to do that. But when have you never had anything for the club? A big fancy tweet or release video about all that clobber. It just shows you that they know that they've made an arse of it. And
even the training video. The training video for me said a lot as well. When they do these unfiltered Lennoxtown videos, and they're usually about a minute long, and then it's tune into Celtic TV if you want to see us kicking mere balls about plastic the obstacles and all that. That was a 5-minute video.
Money.
Aye, you had coaches. You can see the coaches talking to the players. It was all very strange, very kind of contrived. But no, I'll just take any 3 points at the weekend just to round up on that. I'm not too fussed about who plays it. But just after this period, we just have to start off the campaign again with another victory. That's to get back to winning.
Yeah.
No, I think that that's pretty accurate. They'll bleed us for money, but will we get an answer? Will we get something? Because this is only, as we say, this has only begun. This is only going to ramp up, and I think that eventually, hopefully, we'll get something. We'll feed through all the other things there. But before we finish, a couple of wee things we want to bring up. Try and bring a wee bit of jest, a wee bit of fun in here. We thought to ourselves, can we bring something that's a wee bit funny? And every now and then, if you see something, tag us at CWPod1888 on our X, because I want to bring in a wee bit of fun each week and a wee bit of tin pottery from Scottish football. And for me, this was the tin pottery of the week so far. Tin pottery that's been grown with our board in our club. But this one takes a biscuit for me. It's Dundee United's new sponsor, Dragon Soup 7.5. The Jakey Juice is on the back. Dundee United tap. I mean, come on, guys, right? I know that you need to get some money in the door. But
Bing bong. That's a rank sponsor.
That's an absolute topper, isn't that? The Jakey Juice on the back of your tap.
But someone's got to pay the bills, haven't they?
Surprised that Buckfast have not been involved in any Scottish clubs or, yet.
Hold on, no.
Would you have the Jakey Juice in the back of the Celtic tap?
I had a Buckfast on the back of the Celtic tap, definitely. I would cracking. Drink responsibly, guys. A Dragon Soup on the back of your top. Listen, Dundee United are making a few quid off it, so fair play to them.
Exactly.
But I think we've had Magners on the back of ours, but I think Dragon Soup's a new level, isn't it? It's one of the ones that's...
It must be a big selling area for them.
You see, the point is the bit that gets it for me is it's not just Dragon Soup, right? It's the fact that it actually says 7.5 ABV on the back.
Aye.
I mean, that's the best part.
And why did they have to spell it with 2 O's and all?
They've just lifted it right off a can and put it in the back.
Right. There's no point redesigning it. Just fire it on.
Do you think they were selling them at half time? Kicking about a wee guy walking with a crate of Dragon Soup?
That's the thing as well, and that's a topper. John's saying that the bevy one for Hibs. That's quite funny.
Actually, I use the bevy app, but it is a belter. In fairness, the bevy app, it is very good.
And before we finish up, check us out, and if you haven't done it already, absolutely top quality bands. Go and get your body over and watch this good man on the old YouTube age. This, for me, this is possibly one of the best looking things that I have seen in a long time. It is, how would I describe it? It is very much like the brass eye of Celtic fit by content. It is like the naked video of Celtic fit by content for those that are of a certain age that remember the naked video. Get yourself out there and get them watched. Another one from Paul, absolutely top class, doing the Channel 67 stuff. Good bands, it's sort of fast cuts, it's done in a comedic way. It's absolutely top notch, and I look forward to more of that content. So I'm sure if you guys haven't seen it, go and get it watched.
You have to keep laughing. You have to keep laughing.
Exactly, and that's the underlying point. See, at this moment in time, if you didn't laugh, then you would greet. But anyway,
Yes.
guys, listen, we're nearly an hour and a half. We were
Can
well
we get
over
our
100.
predictions in, Stephen?
Well, Paddy, we might come back before then, but let's get an early predictions then. Right, Paddy, 4-0 in it.
I am out 4-0 boys.
I
That's it,
got
yeah.
you
No. I wonder how you managed that. Aye, 4-0, I'll go for it.
You going for 4? You going for 4,
4-0.
son? Aye. Right, okay.
Yeah, 4-0.
Strange that.
What about yourself, Paul? You want to get an early prediction?
An early prediction for me would be a kind of topsy-turvy 2-0. 2-0. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Any advance, Paddy? 4-0?
No advance, certainly, but I'm going to go a comfortable 2-1. And I know that doesn't sound comfortable, but I'm going to say a dominated
comfortable
game.
2-1. How does that exist?
Dominated game, terrible goal for them.
Oh my God! No,
Simple as that,
I'm
that's
just
all.
going to
penalty
go.
that wasn't a
I'm
penalty.
just going to go nice.
Aye, exactly.
I'm going to go nice and boring. I'm going to go for 3-0. I think that they'll come out and it will be comfortable, but it will not be devastating. Although Brown's going for an absolute tank and he's going for the first one, and absolutely, I'd take some of that as well. But anyway, guys, listen. Thank you very much to everybody joining us. Now, of course, if Brendan Rodgers and any other player that happens to be sitting there at the press conference tomorrow says anything that's blowing our mind, if anything pops up that's new, that's fresh, of course we'll jump up and we'll get ourselves involved before that. We might even do another wee pre-show, but if not, we will be back on Sunday night after that result. In fact, you know what? We might even do a wee pre-show if like hell freezes over and Hearts like day something, you know, just for laughs. We might do that and all. But
for the bands.
We keep our powder dry because, yes, it'll be interesting to see how the team bounce back from the sort of disappointment of the last 3 results, albeit we didn't lose to Rangers, and of course the off-field stuff. Can the guys get their heads back in the game? We bloody hope so. So until the next time, take care of yourselves. If you haven't done it, hit subscribe. Bing bong. Time to go
Bing
now.
bong, subscribe.
Bing bong. Hit the bell icon. There you go, Paddy. This is brilliant. We need that all the time. So until the next time, take care of yourselves. And I'll say it because Paddy might go bing bong. Hail, hail. See you all later.